Alrighty, I want to make another video here. This is on the 2000 S10. It's also going to be a big block vehicle. You can see the steering has been moved. Column comes out where it's supposed to. The column's out of a 93 S10. Manual truck, so there's nothing on the steering column other than the multifunction switch, which I'll hook that into as time goes on. That's actually going to get covered up. We're not going to mount the master cylinder out here at all. We're going to use a 90-degree bracket under the dash with a 7-inch booster and master cylinder setup. I'm getting Speedway. We redid the plate at the end of the column. We kind of took some hammers, dollies, and kind of formed it so it fit to the firewall. This is a piece of 1/8-inch steel plate. It's been bolted in. I've got to trim the bolts off. I've got grade 8 bolts on it, and I've got another plate on the inside, then the column, so it's sandwiched. It ain't going anywhere. It's actually been moved 3 inches to the driver's side out here, and with the column being as long as it is, you can angle it enough that you don't notice it. And a lot of times, if you look at most GM cars, Ford cars, the column comes out of the firewall at an angle. My Explorer's like that. My 93 Chevy pickup's like that. The column goes into the dash at an angle. And my 93 C1500 is actually one of the ones where the engine, if you look it up on them, the engine actually sets to the passenger side a little bit. But the steering shaft's out of a Jeep Comanche pickup, I'm going to say like late 80s, 87 to 89. All you have to do for any of the Gen 1 S10s is pull it apart, and I believe I cut 2.5 inches off of the 3/4 side of it and slid it back, greased it up, slid it back together. Now, when you pop it apart right here, there's a plastic pin that goes through it. Put a little heat on it and heat that pin up, because you will beat the end off of this down here, beating on it too much. So if you tried to, like, I'll tap it with a vise and try to beat it out down here, you know, put a boxed in wrench or open in wrench and try to beat on it or something, you're going to end up fucking this up, so don't do it. And these things new are like 230 to 250 bucks. So this one is one I use for mock-up. I've got a brand new one laying over there on the bench. Well, not brand new to me, but it's tight. See how this one rattles? It's a little loose. That one's tight. But everything turns. There's no binding. So it'll clear anything I need as far as like the head or anything in the motor. You know, the big green truck, I moved it 1.5 inches over to the driver's side. But with the body lift, it helped because it put the column actually above the head. So, and another thing is, I cut this out tonight real quick with a cutoff wheel. That's all the more I need to clear a 6-quart pan. You do not have to cut it all the way down. There's still 1 inch of material right here from the bottom to here. So, and that's doubled, walled right there. If for some reason you're going to run a big 9-quart pan or something, do yourself a favor. Go back here where these holes are at. Put you a couple bolts, bolt you something across there to stabilize it. Come up here in the front and get you a piece of tubing or something and weld it across right here. I'm putting a piece of 3-inch square tube in here anyway for a structural brace. Just because I don't feel comfortable, even if I plate that back in, you know, your lower A-arm mount, one of them's right there. So, but you can see, and when you cut this, a lot of guys will come in here from center and go, okay, my pan's 10 inches wide, I'm gonna go this way 5 inches, 5 way. Your engine is gonna set to this side, to the passenger side. Most all vehicles do because of steering column clearance. In this case, this one was 4 inches to the driver's side because my pan is 9 inches wide, and that's giving it like about a 1/4 inch on either side extra. So you're 4 inches to this side and it's 5 inches to this side. And as you can see, it lays pretty evenly in the valley on the engine cross member. I use a engine mount that is similar to the 2.8. It's actually for the 4.3. They're an aftermarket mount for the Cyclone and Typhoon trucks. They're a lot heavier than any of the crap you buy at Napa or anywhere. So, and I use the Transdep 9906 small block mounts. You have to chamfer the edge of the driver's mount because of where the galley plugs are in the bottom of a big block. But other than that, that's all you got to do. So that's what we're doing now. I'm going to take and get the motor ready to test fit it. And we'll set it in here at the transmission. If it clears right here, we're good. If it don't clear, I'll clearance it out a little more, but it should clear without a problem. And I'm measuring off of my green truck, which is sitting over there. And I didn't have to cut it because the pan don't go all the way to the bottom of the cross member. It don't even go down past the bottom of this. It's like up here. The only place it was close was right here, and when I cut it out, of course, I cut it clear up into here, and I didn't need to. So that's why we're going to do some welding on that cross member. I'm going to cut this all out and put a tube piece in there, a piece of tubing, and kind of bring it back and around so the axle has some more travel. So now walk around here. As you can see, we're starting to tear this one down so I can pull the motor out of it. And what's happening is I'm taking that 496 out. It's got a hydraulic roller cam in it. It's a real mild cam, just a few notches above stock. But the compression is already at like 10.5 to 1, and even with premium in it, it'll ping a little bit. So I'm going to swap the cam out. We're going to go to a much bigger cam. The heads are already set up to go the lift that I'm going to go. And we're going to do an intake swap on it, and I'm going to go to a mechanical secondary 850 CFM carburetor on it and get rid of the Edelbrock. And I've got a 30 over 454 that's mild that we're going to put back in this for my son, actually, instead of a small block, because it's already set up for a big block. And I'm not using none of the headers or nothing off that truck. So here's the headers I'm actually using. And again, I apologize for being dark. Like I said, we just moved over here like 2 months ago, and I'm still trying to get lights put up. And I've hauled literally 5 loads of tear out on my trailer, a 20-foot car trailer, and I put 4-foot sides on it, and I've hauled 5 loads out so far. But that's what I'm using. Those are fender well headers for a 55 to 57 Chevy. They're polished stainless. So we're going to see how they work. We had them made, patterned them off the ones you get from Speedway, but the only thing we did is where these turn and go out over the frame, these have been shortened up for the shorter width of the S10, so they'll dump up against the frame rail and the front tire won't rub. And the cool thing about it, we put them on backwards on that truck, so they dump to the front. I could literally put an elbow on it and dump the exhaust out the front fender and be done, which I'm contemplating. Excuse the mess. Like I said, I've been working on the garage and trying to do this. Like right now, it's going on 1 a.m. My wife works nights as a nurse, so I'm up at night. I sleep a little in the morning and get at it again about noon. But I've got it sitting on a dolly, 2 6x6s between it and the frame. That way I can, well, now it won't move, but as you can see, I can just roll it around wherever I want in here. Experimenting with different types of coatings for the frame. I think right here is what we're going to go with, which is just some Por-15. I'm just going to load it up the gun and spray it. That's what I did there, was spray it a little bit. And we used a big tip modified gun to do it with. I actually ruined a paint gun to do it. Got the old 7.65 or whatever it is, 411 rear end, because this was a 2.2 anemic 2.2 truck. I was going to leave it in there for a while and see how long it took me to destroy it. It is a posi, which was actually surprising. The truck's a fully loaded model, but it had 2.2 in it. But it's coming out. Sitting in the basement, I've got my TCI Street Fighter. It's sitting down the trans, brand new. Carburetor, a bunch of other parts. My stall converter, the 39-inch for this. Already got the Caltrac parts are laying out there. There's the bars for them. Pretty much just that. I've got my aluminum dash all made. I got a friend that works for one of these places that does the street signs, and street sign aluminum is like awesome. I mean, you got the laminate from the sign on the back side, but I already cut it down, put it in a brake, bent it, got it all done. So it's ready to go in. Other than that, that's about it. If you want to look, you can see kind of sort of down there, not real well, but yeah, there's my brackets I made just to hold it temporarily. But yeah, those are just temporary. I'm gonna fab up a bracket that'll bolt to those studs that are sticking out. There was a big massive cast aluminum piece that goes back there, and nothing like the Gen 1's got. And this first Gen 2 I've messed with, so but I'm gonna make a piece to go across there, drop down, come across and bolt to that. So, and this mount looks like it's crooked. It's because it's not, the bolts aren't in it. It's just kind of like laying there, just like a sling to support it. So yeah, don't freak out saying it's crooked. I know it's crooked, but it's not crooked. And it's got this massive, like EPDM backed foam noise suppressor, insulation, whatever you want to call it. It's really cool. And I'm gonna notch it out around stuff, but I'm gonna put it back up and actually keep it. I'm debating aluminum door panels. I can fab some up. They're real easy on the S10. It's mostly a flat surface. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep the door panels, keep the seat, headliner. Everything's in really good shape in this truck, so there's no need to trash it. I've got a set of gauge panel and switch panel from Longacre Racing I'm going to use in it. Of course, altimeter speedometer. Fuel cell I got the 4 wheels, the skinnies for the front. I got a set of 10s for the back, some 275 drag radials for the back, some M&H's for the front. Another thing on these trucks, I found out it's an easy fix, but because of the anti-lock, you have an individual brake line from each caliper coming. You have that one which comes across from that side, and you have one from this side, so you have 3 up here instead of 2. And neither one of the bastards are the same size fitting. One's a little bitty and one's huge, like in between the back and front brakes. So what I'm going to do is, I've got some brake lines that I took off of a Gen 1. I'm just going to swap them in from the frame up and the little T fitting that's right there where that's a connector, there should be a T, and I'm going to use them and actually run the lines along the frame. I'm going to bring them up through the floorboard into the master cylinder. Power steering box is going to go bye-bye. I got a new manual box for it. Son's been cleaning the frame up. He's been helping me out quite a bit till he tore a meniscus in his knee out here getting up the other day and twisted his knee, replacing the flywheel in the other truck that I talked about in the previous video. And other than I'm waiting on, I got to get a brake line I broke for it, and I've got to where the bolts go in the bottom control arm for the shocks. Both the bastards on each side broke. I soaked them for a week with Blaster, went to take them out. They come out a little bit, and then both of them, the head snapped off. So I'm going to have to grind them flush, punch them, drill them out, and then I'm just going to weld 2 new nuts on the inside of the A-arm and control arm to be correct, and go on down the road with it. But I'll make a video when I do it. I've got some new rallies for it, new tires to go on it. So I'm going to take the 275s off it, run them on the back of this for a while, just to have something to blow the shit out of. So, but that's all that's going on. There's the Gen 1 dash we tried to fit in this, but it's actually 1.5 inches too short on either side. So, that wasn't going to work. And I didn't want to butcher that dash because it's a black dash and it's in like primo shape. It's going to go on my son's truck because I hate those like 87 to 93 dashes. I can't stand them. So there's a front fender off of that. There's another fender, push bar, the bumper. Like I said, I hate those fucking dashes. But that's all that's going on. I'll post more videos, I guess, as I start doing this other big block build, and see if if you guys, any of you that are still interested in doing one, I'll show you a few tricks I learned. I've done 2. The first one was kind of a haggard together. We run it, took it back apart, and he bought the truck 1LS, a buddy of mine. This one, with it being solid axle, is a whole different ball game than trying to do a 2-wheel drive truck. But it gives me something as reference points because the frames are the same. All the points on the frame are the same. So, and I know you probably can't see very well. Like I said, there's the small block mounts. So, they work. And I've got the engine, actually, if you look. Let me see if I can get a bolt hole in focus here for you. Holy shit. Looks like some kind of gaping butthole down there. Anyways, you can see the motor slid all the way back in the slots. So, that's all I'm doing. That and patching cracks in this floor. I've mortared all those up. I gotta fix that one yet. And I gotta fix those over there, which ain't that big a deal. These are big gaping ass cracks. That's all that's going on. I'll post more videos as we get things going. Right now they're kind of boring, but we'll be hitting it hard here in the next couple weeks. So take it easy. Thanks.